Okay, so let's talk about our spine. So many people nowadays have spinal injuries, okay, whether we're feeling it in our cervical spine, through our neck, whether we have tightness in our chest and our shoulders and our upper back, we feel this pinching feeling. Far too common, we feel it right down below in our lumbar spine and our lower back. We feel a lot of aches and pains. And I myself have experienced heaps of injuries over the years when I was taking advice that did not correlate to how we should move as human beings. A lot of it was exercise advice, a lot of it you'll find in general tertiary study, and it is backed up by science. But what I want to talk about today is what created the human spine, what movement patterns created the human spine, how does this relate to the structure, the shape of our muscles, our skeleton, and what movements we should really be optimizing to truly take care of our spine. Because if you asked a fish to climb a tree, or if you asked a giraffe to fly, then that's just simply not going to work. So there are some natural rules here that apply to movement patterns specific to the individual animal. So surely there is a natural blueprint that relates to us as human beings and our structure, how we should move and how we should take care of our bodies. Because when it comes down to it, exercise is a human creation. Exercise is not birthed out of nature. It has not come to be naturally for our survival needs. It is something that we have created based on what we think we understand about movement. So, I've got my friend here. Hopefully you can see this clear enough. And we can look here at the shapes of the muscles surrounding our torso. So, when we think of, just before I get into this, when we think of modern day exercises that involve our spine, a lot of the time we're told to hold a neutral spine. So this is when the back is in a straight position and it does not articulate. It does not bend in any way. It maintains this straight line. Now, what movement patterns did the human being perform as survival necessary movements that have created the specific design of our spine? Well, we're very good at walking, we're very good at running, we throw, which requires this rotation, we can climb, we can jump, we can balance. All of these full body movement patterns that involve a lot of movement in our spine. So when we take this into consideration, let's have a look at the shape of our body. So let's go from the back. The muscles involved in the shoulder that correlate to throwing, correlate to running, correlate to climbing and crawling. Notice how the muscles, let's look at the trapezius muscle. It wraps around in this arching motion. The latissimus dorsi, the feathers of the muscle, they move like this. Okay, and we go into the torso, the hip muscles that come into the abdominals. There are no straight lines here. All of the muscles contained within our body, they wrap around to some degree. They create rotation and they create this flexion, these more fluid movement patterns. So why are we told to hold a neutral spine? Well, a lot of this comes down to having a safer position when we're loading the spine with weights. So in this context, it can be great to build muscle strength, build extra density in the vertebrae in our spine, and work some muscle groups. But when we're looking at total spinal health, we must remember what got us to the dance, what actually created our spine, which movement patterns allowed us to become the beings that we are today. And if we neglect these natural movement patterns, then we inhibit our overall movement potential, and we're not respecting the actual shape and structure of our bodies. So if all we do is train this neutral spine in the straight line, that is all we are teaching our body. That is the only stimulus that we're providing to it on a regular basis. And so when you look at it this way, it is quite clear why spinal issues arise. It is because we are not respecting the creation that we are. So just something to think about when it comes down to the way that we move, the way that we exercise, the way that we take care of our spine. It requires multiple movement patterns. It requires a lot of different articulation through flexion, through extension, through rotation, and not only in an exercise setting, but also in a movement setting, so locomotion, moving from one point to the other. Walking, running, climbing, swimming, jumping, balancing, throwing objects, martial arts, dance. All of these movements ultimately train the body as a unit. They bring in the elasticity of the tendons. They work the entire fascial web that is interwoven into our entire body. Trains all of the connective tissue. It connects muscle groups all in a sequence. So although exercise science is great, exercise can build up muscle strength, there are many benefits to exercise, but we must use exercise to benefit our overall movement, to keep our bodies healthy as an entire unit. So that is all for this video. Take care of your spine, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.